Day. I'd like to introduce the cast of Caught in His Web. Please welcome Garcelle Beauvais, Alison Thornton, Malia Baker, and Emma Tremblay. Let's go ahead and get to our first question from Karen at Sci-Fi Vision. Karen?
Hi, everybody. I really enjoyed the film and the twist on this problem. I wanted to ask you guys, Garcelle, as the parent, I think you have teenagers at home, and the rest of the cast, all you are young ladies, either high school age or it's not that far behind you. And I wanted to ask how much you were aware of this type of problem in high schools.
First of all, I want to say hi to the cast. I love these girls. Hi. For me, one of the reasons why it was so important, not only to be a part of it, but to get the word out, is because it can happen. And I'm always trying to use things as cautionary tales for my boys. And I always say, don't ever give your personal information to anyone. But obviously these girls didn't. They just got targeted. But it's really important that I think this film is really important.
Yeah, I mean, I had friends in high school who had their photos shared. Unfortunately, I feel like it's something that is really common nowadays. Sending a picture is like currency, especially I think in the age of COVID when everyone's separate. So I think that it's a really important message.
I grew up in a house where my parents were very aware of what I was doing online just for my own safety and protection. And I'm just like grateful that I had that support system and I never had to experience anything as traumatic as what we go through in this movie, because it's terrifying, because it's totally real and happens. And I was just lucky enough to be aware of it as I grew up and just avoided that danger.
For sure, I agree. I mean, I feel like especially being a young girl in today's society, you have the normalized almost connotation of this can happen, and if you take pictures, it's kind of inevitable for that to happen. And I feel like this movie just dives deep into it on a great level, and it's really important, and I'm glad that we're able to share the message.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Our next is from Starry Constellation Magazine. Starry Constellation? All right, we can get back to you in just a few moments. How about we go down to Noah Wilson? Noah?
Hello, everyone. It's so great to be here with you guys to speak a little more about Caught in His Web. Garcelle, I want to ask you first. I feel like, this is so relevant in today's world because so many are trapped in crazy things on the internet and social media. But what made this movie project one that you definitely were game to do?
Well, I had never worked for Lifetime, believe it or not. I've been in the industry for 100+ years. So that definitely was an opportunity that I didn't want to pass. But like you said, it's such an important thing. We share so much of our lives on social media that you would think that these young girls could have some privacy when needed. And the fact that if you share one photo, nowadays people can, change things. They can even do videos and, edit them so it looks like you're doing something. So to me, it was really, really important. And, having 14-year-old boys, I try to stress to a point where they're like, Mom, not everybody's bad. And I'm like, no, not everybody's bad. But there's a lot of people out there who want to take advantage. And I feel like that's what this movie speaks about. Even if you're, a great kid, great grades, you abide by the rules, this can also happen to you. And I think that's the message too.
Now, Garcelle, have you ever came across a sticky situation being on social media, being, a public figure in the public eye?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think I'm always careful. Like now I don't post in real time. If I go to an event, I will post the next day. So I'm not literally at the event when I post, just, out of caution. But I also feel like for me, when I post for Playboy, that was a really big deal for me because not a lot of Black women get to be on the cover. And it was a big deal. And I only shot, my top. I only exposed my top. And I feel like there are pictures out there that people have edited that are not me. So that can, it can ruin a career. It can ruin your life if certain things are put out there that are not your image or not what you've done. And so it's just scary all around. Although the social media can also be great, but that aspect I think is really scary.
Lastly, to all of the girls that are on here right now that are part of the film, Caught in His Web, what did you guys learn personally from Garcelle? Did you learn anything and take anything away from her?
Yeah, I mean, watching how Garcelle composes herself on set is really inspiring. I remember we were doing a scene. I can't say what it is because it's a spoiler, but there was a note that I feel like I was having trouble understanding, and I did a take, and then I did a different take trying to incorporate the note. And then I remember we just had a moment where I spoke to you about it, and then we spoke to Hannah, the director, and just, you're so good at being assertive in terms of asking for what you need and clarification, and also just being so warm to everyone and so supportive on set. It made for such a wonderful and open environment to work with, which I was very grateful for.
Oh,
I
I love them. They were so easy. They were so great. I loved all of them equally.
I can totally bounce off of what Alison said because I feel the exact same way. Garcelle made set just so comfortable. And of course, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm working with Garcelle. And she was just like the sweetest, like most wonderful woman to work with. And just, you were all incredible.
I definitely agree with everything you girls just said. I would also say there was a few days actually where the call sheet got messed up and our scenes were all being switched around. And I remember Garcelle had this huge monologue and she was ready, and but they changed some of the lines and she was trying to get it ready. But by the time that we were filming, she got them all down. And I think just thinking on my feet and, like you guys said, being assertive, knowing what I want, and not being afraid to ask for it. It's really important on set. And I feel like you can kind of get shuffled into the, oh no, it's okay, thank you, that kind of realm. So it's great to learn.
Thank you guys so much. Congrats on the film.
Thank you.
You, Noah. Up next, we have April Neal. April?
Hi, everyone. Thanks for doing this. Okay, so when I watched the film, and I'm a parent, all I could think about, and I want everyone's input on this, is that smartphones, not cell phones, but smartphones that have internet connectivity, there should be like an age limit, because it seems to amplify the worst of all of the things that we experience growing up. And kids are notoriously bad at, containing themselves and exercising caution with something that easy to use. I wanted your opinion, Garcelle, especially you, and also the cast. Would there be an age for the younger cast? Would there be an age acceptable for you to have just a cell phone and not a smartphone, and then make the transition when you're more emotionally able to handle the responsibility?
Let you guys go.
You go ahead.
I actually think that that's a great idea. I mean, I personally didn't get a smartphone until I think I was 15. But yeah, I think what you said is a really great point, because I remember even when I was younger, I would send silly photos to my friends on Snapchat and whatnot, and people would screenshot them without me knowing. And I think that I remember having someone come to my school and talk about this actually and say, on an app like Snapchat, you think that what you're sending is going to disappear in a few seconds, and it doesn't even occur to you that people, like, whenever you send something like that, even if it's a silly photo or something that you wouldn't want everyone to see, you don't know whose eyes are going to be on it. And even at like 13, 14, for some reason that didn't click in my mind. So I think, having just a normal cell phone, not a smartphone, maybe is fine just for emergencies if you're taking the bus home or whatever. But for me, I probably would have, I think 15 was a good age for me to get my smartphone just for emails and whatnot.
Yeah, for me, I was 12. It was just when I started walking to school by myself. So my parents were like, okay, now you can have a phone. And I feel like just being introduced to social media and the internet in like a slower way and like just a good environment was really nice, like just not having that exposure to like discover myself, I feel like that's just really dangerous because there's so much on the internet that is just endless. And it's kind of scary to think that there could be little kids out there like just seeing things that they shouldn't be seeing. It's a scary place.
Sure, yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's definitely a debatable topic. I have a younger sister who's 11, and I was around 11, 12 when I got my first phone, and she has one now, and there's always going to be that kind of protectiveness, I think, when she has that. And you know, a lot of with the apps nowadays, like Alison said, you can just send things and you don't know that they're being screenshotted, or like Emma said, you can discover a lot of things that you shouldn't necessarily be discovering at that young of an age. But I feel like on the other flip side of it, there's a lot of great things that you can be creative with, or just share out information that you think is important if you want to use your voice. If even just like looking at photos of puppies, there's great aspects to it, but as long, I think they come hand in hand with some of the scarier parts, and I think they're both really important to take into account.
Yeah, I agree with everything you guys are saying. I mean, and as a parent, it's scary when the minute you hand your kids a phone, whether it's 11, 12, 13, and up, it's just scary because they have access to everything. And you can do the parental codes, and I'm sure you guys can agree that there's ways around those parental codes. And so, and so I worry all the time. And, you know, you can't live your life in fear, but I think you can also be aware of some of the, you know, the pitfalls. And I hope this is what the movie does. I am having a screening at my house when this airs with my kids and their friends, because I really want the message, I want the message out there. Are we frozen again? Or no?
No, thank you, April. We're going to move on to our next question from Jay Bobbin.
Hello, everyone. Just curious about the nature of Whoopi's involvement in this. Obviously, she's talking about issues every day on The View, and she's very invested in what she chooses to deal with subject-wise. Could any of you who had direct contact with her on this talk about the nature of her involvement?
Unfortunately, because she's so booked and busy, she wasn't on set. She was working in New York on The View, of course. So, but I think she chooses her projects carefully. I would assume she has grandchildren, and this was probably a topic that she could connect to, and, you know, hoping and spreading the word.
Thank you very much. Love you in Flight, by the way, with Denzel Washington, Garcelle.
Thank
you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Up next, we have Luann Lee. Luann?
It's actually Luann. Garcelle, you acted as sort of a mentor to the girls when you were making this film. But do you have any cautionary tales for them about being an actress?
Oh. Let me just tell you, these young ladies have their heads on right. They are professional, they are sweet, they are kind, and I love their relationship. I don't know if you guys even knew each other prior to this, but I felt like there was an instant kinship between them. I would say for me, always show up prepared, and cautionary tales. If something doesn't feel right to you in your gut, there's probably a reason, and always follow that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Up next, we have Rick Bentley.
Thank you. Emma, Alison, and Malia, you're three young women dealing in this crazy social media world to begin with. But then you add in that layer that the three of you decided to get into acting at a young age. Did this start, did you have more conversations with people about how the social media world was going to increase for you because of that? Or did it create more concerns? Have you put up more firewall? Just how has that sort of ramped up what you were already dealing with as young women anyway?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like having social media is kind of the automatic go-to, especially when you are more in the public. It can be terrifying. You know, I was not a natural social media dealer. I didn't have Instagram or Snapchat. And then when I got into acting, they were like, yeah, you need to get these things. And I was like, oh, great, that sounds amazing. So it wasn't a natural ease into this whole big world. And I feel like growing up, like you said, kind of getting into this industry at a younger age, it is a necessity. And as great as it can be also be like Garcelle mentioned earlier, a little scary, you know, posting things in the moment or having your locations on. There's just certain priorities that need to be taken care of, and accountability that needs to be had when you're thinking about all the aspects of this.
For
Emma,
sure. Sorry. For me, social media was really, it was easy to get into because my parents were like just with me the whole time and explained everything so well and explained all the dangers and all the positive things. And so for me, yeah, it was a really nice introduction into it. And I have a good relationship with social media, and I'm thankful for that because, like I've always said, it's a scary place.
Yeah, I would agree with both of you guys on that. Like Malia, it wasn't natural for me to be on social media. I wasn't on it before I was acting. And even now, sometimes it feels like there's this weird pressure to post and to keep people up to date with what I'm doing, which I'm still kind of coming to terms with. Sometimes I like do silly things, like I'll post something and then 5 seconds later be like, no, I can't post that, and then delete it right away. So I'm still navigating social media, but we'll see.
We all are.
We all are.
thank you very much.
So thank you, Rick. And we actually have time for one more question, and I'm going to give that to the Hollywood Times.
Hi, Garcelle.
Hi.
I know sextortion is an ongoing issue here, and I was just wondering how much of this film, and maybe you can give an example, is based on actual events?
Oh, well, it definitely is based on actual events. I think what's happening is that we're all sort of learning how to navigate this social media world. And I think with kids, you know, remember when you were a kid, I think everything was rosy and, you know, you were so hopeful and full of life and trusted people. And I think the cautionary tale is not that you can't trust people, especially if you're in high school, because you need to make friends, but it's what you share with people. And if someone's asking you to share something inappropriate, it's probably inappropriate to do so. And you know, I have 2 14-year-old boys, and I try to tell them, like, if someone sends you a picture of someone, do not forward that picture to another friend, because that's how it all gets started. So it's, you know, it's real events, but then applied to how modern we, you know, and how dependent we are on these devices that we hold on to all day.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I actually lied. We do have time for more questions, so let's get some more in. Suzanne?
Hi, how are you guys doing today?
Good, how are you?
All right, thanks for being here. I was gonna ask Garcelle, what can you talk to us at all about the development as far as your part of it, the development of the movie?
Yeah, for me, you know, when I got the script, I was fascinated. At first, I thought, how does someone get to control your life like that? And it was really a deep dive into, you know, how people hack, you know, the information they get, what they do to it, identity theft. I mean, it was a lot in terms of going down that rabbit hole and realizing like how much someone can have an effect on your life, someone who's not even in your home, who you don't really have contact with. So for me, it's really getting into that mindset that I wanted to understand what the girls were going through, but at the same time, I felt like my character was not tech savvy and had to learn a lot as she went along. So it was about learning a lot, but then letting it go so that it didn't appear that I had all the answers. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you. And the actress that played the hacker girl that helped you out was really good.
Yeah,
too.
she was really great. Morgan was really great.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, Suzanne. Up next, we have Abby.
Hi, sorry, I'm sorry. I thought you said the other one was the last question. For Ms. Beauvais, I think you would be the point person on this question. Too often the law enforcement doesn't even take actual rape seriously, much less sexual harassment.
Yeah.
What is there about this case, even in the story, that had the law enforcement taking it seriously?
Well, I think the fact that my character sort of pushed that along, because at first, even when Allison's character went to the precinct to report it, it was kind of like, kind of brushed aside, like, okay, these girls say this guy is coming after them, but there wasn't really any concrete proof. And especially, I would have to say, in the tech world, sometimes a lot of adults, me included, don't know everything that, these kids can get into. So it's always with law enforcement, I feel like until something bad happens, they really can't do anything about it. But what I felt like my character was at least took it seriously enough. And I think it was maybe because of the connection of these young girls to sort of delve a little deeper and see what she can find out and hopefully catch this guy.
Have you ever been inspired by any bad interactions you've had online to look further into who the heck is this idiot?
No, I just block and delete. I don't have that much time, but I just think it's unfortunate that somebody who you don't even know, have not a real interaction with, can really ruin your lives. And I think that's a cautionary tale for all of us, really, whether you're young or, older.
Thanks very much.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. And finally, our last question is from Right On Digital. Right On?
Hello? Hi, can you hear me? Okay, my question is this. This is a hypothetical question. If you all were going to a high school or junior high school to speak to the students in reference to the fact that this film has come out, what is the message that you would like to relate to the young people that would hear you speak?
You guys want to go first?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think that personally, what I would say is my biggest takeaway from shooting the movie is just pay attention to the power that people, especially women in this case, can have when they believe each other and when they support each other. I think that a lot of the times today, there's this culture of being a savage and being cold and not necessarily being nice to each other. And I think that this movie is really empowering because it kind of shows the opposite effect of that and how there's way more power united and how you can actually take down predators, and you can just go to such intense lengths when you just believe people and support them.
Yeah, I agree with Alison 100%. You said it perfectly. And I feel like this film has such a in-your-face kind of messaging, nothing is really kind of filtered in a sense that, oh, you need to look really, really hard for the underlying meaning of the film. It's there, and being united and having young women especially being united in this front. There's amazing moments in the movie where you see that happening, and I feel like going forward with this film and with other ones in general, it's just really empowering to see it, especially as coming from kind of the same perspective on the world as I think a lot of young people watching this movie will feel.
Okay.
I personally love what Alison said, and what I was kind of thinking is my favorite part of the film is just the fact that these girls are so much stronger together, and just the way that they form their team is so beautiful and fun to watch. And I'm so glad that I got to work with Malia and Alison as my two classmates. They were incredible, and then Garcelle as well. We were just a great team. We were a great team together.
We were a great team. And I think I agree with everything these young girls have said, but I also feel like it can happen to anyone. I think that's what I would say in my conversation with the students, is that it can happen to anyone, just be careful.
Thank you for such wonderful answers. Very inspiring.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And thank you to the Caught in His Web panelists, along with all of our amazing other